The hum of Erebus Station never truly ceased. It was the kind of sound that crawled into your skull after enough rotations, steady, mechanical, alive. Commander Elias Trent had grown used to it. It was the sound of vigilance, the kind of vigilance that had kept humanity breathing in a galaxy that thought them long gone. He sipped a cup of cold coffee, eyes tracing the dull shimmer of the Kepler expanse through the observation pane. The stars here were sharp, uncaring, brilliant, and cold. That's what he liked about them. They didn't lie. Commander, a voice called from the calm pit. We've got something. Deep band frequency, unknown signature. Elias straightened immediately. Origin? Outer Kepler rim. Coordinates trace back to the Xylan Dominion trade lanes. The officer hesitated. It's a hail, sir. Elias set his mug down, every sense sharpening. Play it. The station dimmed as the primary screen flared to life. A pulsating glyph pattern spun into shape, elegant curves, gold over black. Then came the voice, layered, melodic, and unmistakably alien. To the sentience of soul designation, you are hailed by the Xylan Dominion. Respond and identify your governing authority. Failure to comply within one standard rotation will be interpreted as refusal. We extend this courtesy once. The bridge fell silent. Elias' jaw flexed. Xylan hails were rare enough. A hail to Sol was impossible. The Xylan had ridden Earth off centuries ago after the collapse. Most of the galaxy had. Humanity had been silent too long. Sir? Lieutenant Kale murmured, breaking the silence. How the hell did they find us? Elias turned slowly. They didn't find us, Lieutenant. They stumbled across us. Kale frowned. Do we respond? Elias stared at the holographic glyph twisting above the console. Not yet. He keyed his wrist pad, sending encrypted pings down to the central AI vault. Athena, Erebus Station's deep intelligence core, blinked online. Commander Trent, Athena's voice said, calm and precise. Signal analysis complete. Xylan pattern authentic. Long-range broadcast designed for planetary relay. They're fishing, Elias said. They don't know if Earth's alive. Athena processed that in silence. Recommended response? Elias leaned forward, his voice low. None. Not until the Directorate approves. Forward the hail to Sol Command, encryption level Omega. He knew the Directorate would take hours to reply, maybe days. But something about that message gnawed at him, the arrogance of it, the assumption that the species on the other end would kneel. It reminded him too much of humanity's old wars, when others had spoken to them the same way. Before Earth answered back. The hours crawled by. Erebus Station floated in the quiet dark, lights dimmed, calm arrays alive with static and silence. The crew spoke little. Everyone knew what it meant when an alien power hailed Earth. When the Directorate's reply came, it wasn't a transmission. It was a command packet. A single line of text appeared on his screen. Commander Trent. Open channel. Elias blinked. They want me to respond? Athena's hologram flickered into being beside him. Directive confirmed. Response authorization granted under Terran Strategic Protocol 7. That protocol had been used only twice before in human history. Both times before entire fleets had vanished. Elias exhaled slowly, palms steady. Patch me through. The console hummed. Light rippled through the air as the outgoing signal lanced across the void, compressed, encrypted, ancient in structure but carrying power that dwarfed anything the Xylans would expect. The room darkened. Transmission open, Athena said. Elias leaned toward the mic. His voice was quiet, deliberate, carrying the weight of Earth behind it. This is Commander Elias Trent of the Terran Directorate, responding on behalf of the Sol System. Identify yourself and state your purpose. Silence followed. For 6 long seconds, only static replied. Then, the alien voice returned, sharper this time. We did not anticipate a human response, it said. Your species was presumed extinct. Elias allowed himself a faint, humorless smile. A mistake many have made. You claim authority? The alien's tone held the faintest trace of disbelief. Under what power does this Terran directorate stand? Elias straightened in his chair. Under the power of Earth, he said. Under the memory of those who burned and rebuilt it. You wanted a name, Xylan, now you have one. There was another pause. Then a different voice cut in, older, deeper, commanding. I am Chancellor Vrakthor of the Xylan Dominion. Your defiance is noted, human. Our records state your kind fractured, consumed by internal collapse. How do you persist? Elias met the holographic feed with a calm, unwavering gaze. By learning, he said. By remembering what happens when we trust others to decide our fate. Vrakthor's eyes, cold and lidless, narrowed. We extend an invitation. Join the Dominion as vassals. Share your technology, your resources, and survive. Refusal will not serve you. Elias' expression didn't change. Noted, he replied. Transmission ends? Do not. The channel cut. The alien projection blinked out, leaving only the hum of the station and the pulse of the calm lights. Lieutenant Kale turned slowly, eyes wide. Sir, you just hung up on a Xylan Chancellor. Elias nodded once. Yes. Do you think they'll retaliate? Elias looked out at the stars. Of course they will. He stood, walked to the observation pane, and watched the distant shimmer of the Kepler rim. But before they do, he said softly, they'll realize what they've just awakened. Behind him, Athena's voice broke the silence. Incoming long-range scans, Xylan fleet vectors shifting. Estimated 12 vessels en route to Sol. Elias didn't flinch. He simply turned back toward the console, eyes sharp, voice steady. Then we'll answer properly this time. He keyed the command line, activating long-dormant defense protocols buried deep in Earth's network. Across the void, dormant satellites stirred, their cores flaring to life for the first time in centuries. A hum began to rise through the floor, low, ancient, powerful. The sound of something waking. Kale whispered. Sir, what is that? Elias looked out at the stars one last time before answering. The sound of Earth remembering who she is. The Xylan fleet entered Sol's outer boundary 40 hours later. 12 ships, sleek crescents of obsidian alloy, each pulsing with bioengineered light, cut through the darkness like blades. Their commander, Chancellor Vrakthor, stood on the command dais of his flagship Asen's Wrath, surrounded by the faint glow of tactical holograms. His expression was calm, but the tips of his mandibles twitched with irritation. We are entering the Terran perimeter, reported his second, Sub-Chancellor Creel. No defense grids, no visible orbital platforms, no energy signatures of significance. Vrakthor studied the display. A quiet, barren system. 8 planets, one pale blue world at its heart. Primitive. Defenseless. Just as the records claimed. Perhaps their commander Trent was an automated protocol, Creel suggested. A remnant from before their extinction. Vrakthor's eyes narrowed. And yet, the transmission was current, encrypted beyond our top-tier ciphers. Machines don't taunt with intent. He turned toward the viewport, the faint shimmer of Earth growing larger by the second. No, Creel. The humans live. The question is, how? On Erebus Station, alarms whispered like distant thunder. Commander Elias Trent stood before the main tactical display, its surface lit with red vectors converging on Sol. 12 confirmed Xylan signatures, advancing in perfect formation. Athena's hologram flickered beside him. Fleet arrival in 42 standard minutes. Estimated engagement range, 3 million kilometers from Luna orbit. Any attempts at communication? Elias asked. Negative, Athena said. Xylan encryption chatter only. Internal coordination, attack formation data confirmed. Elias exhaled through his nose. Then they've made their choice. Lieutenant Kale frowned, pacing the deck. Sir, shouldn't we evacuate? Signal Mars? Warn the Directorate? Elias turned to him, his tone calm but cutting. They're already watching. Every Directorate station, every silent relay. This isn't a surprise. It's a test. Kale stared. A test? Yes. Elias adjusted his uniform collar, eyes locked on the tactical map. To see if we still deserve the stars. He touched his wrist pad and entered a long, archaic code, a sequence that hadn't been used in 2 centuries. The display recognized it instantly, colors shifting to deep crimson. Across the void buried within the moon's surface and orbiting relic satellites, ancient systems stirred. Athena's voice grew quieter, almost reverent. Omega Defense Grid online. Quantum lances charging. Estimated readiness, 71%. Kale's voice trembled. Sir, what is the Omega Grid? I've read references, but... Not a weapon, Elias said. A reminder. The Xylan fleet reached lunar orbit. Vrake'Thor's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. We have arrived. Deploy a transmission drone. I will issue terms of subjugation before their world burns. Creel obeyed. Moments later, the transmission echoed across every human comm band, cold, commanding, dripping superiority. To the inhabitants of Sol, you stand before the Xylan Dominion. You will yield your sovereignty and technology to our authority. Defiance will result in annihilation. Vrake'Thor waited. Seconds passed. Then a minute. Still silence. He smirked. So ends the myth of human defiance. Then the stars blinked. At first, it was subtle, a flicker of light around Earth's orbit. Then came the hum. Space shimmered, distorting like heat over sand. Dozens of invisible satellites phased into existence, forming an intricate web of hexagonal light around the planet. One by one, dormant defense arrays activated, blue-white beams arcing between them, weaving a lattice of power that blanketed the planet in a shimmering aura. The Dominion scanners screamed warnings. Unknown energy fields! Creel shouted. Massive power output! Impossible scale! Vrake'Thor's smugness faltered. Shields? Overloaded by interference. I can't get readings. A voice cut through the chaos. Calm. Controlled. Silent fleet, it said. This is Commander Elias Trent of the Terran Directorate. You have entered restricted space. Disengage immediately. The channel came alive aboard Asen's Wrath, projecting a flickering image of the human officer. He stood upright, unflinching, the glow of tactical displays framing his face. You were warned, Elias continued. You came anyway. Vrake'Thor's claws dug into the console. You think to threaten the Dominion? You are an echo of a dead species. Then you should have let the echo fade, Elias replied. Instead, you woke the storm. The transmission cut, and space ignited. The Omega Grid discharged with surgical precision. Light lanced across the void, silent yet catastrophic. Quantum beams tore through the darkness, cutting through 2 Xylan frigates before their shields registered impact. The vessels folded inward, consumed by invisible fire. The remaining ships scattered. Counter-fire! Vrake'Thor roared. All batteries! Green plasma flared from Xylan cannons, but the shots splashed uselessly against the planetary barrier. The lattice absorbed the energy, refracting it harmlessly into space. Creel's voice was desperate. Their defense grid predates our models by centuries, yet surpasses our power output 5-fold. How? Vrake'Thor slammed a claw into the console. Retreat to outer orbit. Reposition. But before the order could fully echo, another wave of beams streaked through the void, measured, deliberate, precise. A third Xylan destroyer vanished in a burst of white fire. Silence consumed the bridge. Vrake'Thor's breathing grew harsh. That was restraint, he whispered. They could have destroyed us all. Creel swallowed hard. Chancellor, their commander requests another transmission. Put him through, Vrake'Thor muttered. Elias appeared again, calm, hands folded behind his back. Chancellor Vrake'Thor, he said. We don't seek war. But understand this, Earth does not kneel. Not anymore. You came expecting ruins. What you found is rebirth. Vrake'Thor glared. You will regret this insolence. Possibly, Elias said. But history tends to favor those who answer when called. He paused, gaze hardening. You came seeking dominion. Leave knowing the price of underestimation. Then the transmission cut. The Xylan ships began retreating, limping away under emergency warp drives. The stars returned to stillness. Hours later, Erebus Station drifted in silence again. Kale leaned on the rail, staring at the fading trails of the Xylan fleet. They ran, he said softly. They actually ran. Elias didn't answer right away. He was watching Earth's faint blue glow, the light of home filtered through layers of defense and history. They'll come back, he said finally. But next time, they won't bring 12 ships. They'll bring hundreds. Kale frowned. Then why let them live? Elias's gaze didn't waver. Because legends need witnesses. He turned to Athena. Transmit full engagement logs to Soul Command. Seal the Omega Grid. Put it back to sleep. Athena's voice softened. Understood. As the grid's light faded, space darkened once more, quiet, still, deceptively peaceful. Elias picked up his mug, now cold again, and stared into the empty stars. Let them wonder, he murmured. Let them remember the name they once feared. He took a slow sip. Human. News traveled faster than light. Within a week, the shockwave of the failed Xylan incursion spread across the Orion Arm, whispered first as rumor, then as panic. Trade guilds halted convoys through human sectors. Mercantile alliances suspended operations, pending verification. Even the warlike Celt enclaves paused their border raids. Something had happened in Sol, something the galaxy had never expected to hear again. Earth had answered. The Galactic Council. The chamber of the Galactic Council orbited a dying sun, its walls formed of translucent crystal that shimmered with reflected starlight. Dozens of delegates crowded the amphitheater, scaled, feathered, chitinous, all talking at once, their voices rising in disbelief and fear. At the center, Chancellor Vrakthor stood beneath the judgment light, his composure fraying. The once proud Xylan leader now looked smaller, his voice harder, defensive. We were attacked, Vrakthor said, mandibles twitching. Without provocation. The Terrans destroyed 3 of our vessels using technology that should not exist. Quantum weapons of impossible refinement. Impossible? Hissed a Varen delegate, her eyes like molten gold. You led an invasion into their system. It was a diplomatic hail, Vrakthor snapped. Our scouts detected transmissions from the Sol sector. A deep mechanical tone silenced them. The council speaker, a massive synthetic mind housed in a floating core, turned its optical iris toward Vrakthor. Clarify, Chancellor. You claim humanity wields technology surpassing Dominion science? Vrakthor hesitated. He remembered the beams, precise, silent, efficient. Not rage, not cruelty. Calculation. Mercy, perhaps. He bowed his head slightly. Yes. They have surpassed us. A wave of murmurs rippled through the chamber. The speaker processed the information in utter stillness. Then, in its synthetic monotone, humanity was listed as extinct after the collapse war. Explain this discrepancy? I cannot, Vrakthor said bitterly. But I can confirm their survival, and their warning. The council went still. Erebus Station. Far away, in the cold serenity of the Kepler expanse, Commander Elias Trent watched the reports unfold from the comfort of silence. A holographic feed projected the council session, streamed through black channels only the Directorate could access. Lieutenant Kale stood beside him, wide-eyed. They're panicking, he said. They're actually afraid. They should be, Elias replied. Fear makes people careful. It buys us time. Kale folded his arms. And what do we do with it? Elias studied the screen, the image of Vrakthor bowing under questioning. We rebuild what they tried to erase. Athena's hologram appeared between them, calm and precise. Incoming transmission, encrypted Directorate channel. Put it through, Elias said. The display shifted to show an older man in a charcoal uniform, Director General Rice, Supreme Commander of the Terran Directorate. His face was lined, his eyes sharp. "Commander Trent," Rice said. "You've done what we hoped you never have to do." Elias inclined his head. "Then I trust it was worth it." Rice's lips curved faintly. The Xylan fleet retreat was recorded across 5 sectors. The Council's unity is fracturing. You've given us the ghost of deterrence again. Kale looked uncertain. "Sir, what about retaliation? They won't accept humiliation." Rice's tone grew harder. "We don't want them to. They need to remember the cost of arrogance. Continue monitoring Erebus perimeter. No further engagement without authorization." The feed flickered and vanished. Athena's light dimmed. "Orders clear. Observation only." Elias nodded, gaze drifting toward the blue glow of Earth. "Observation," he murmured, "until they force our hand again." The Xylan response. Aboard Assan's Wrath, limping through hyperspace, Vrakthor stared into the void from his private chamber. The stars streaked in silence beyond the transparent hull. His claws dug deep into the armrest. Creel entered quietly. "Chancellor, the Council demands your resignation." "I expected that," Vrakthor said flatly. "What shall we do?" Vrakthor's gaze hardened. "Prepare a reconnaissance network. I want everything known about the Terran Directorate, origins, population, fleet strength. They struck us once and spared us. That was a message." Creel hesitated. "You intend to?" "Yes," Vrakthor interrupted. "To understand them before we face them again. The Dominion does not forget shame." He turned back to the stars. "But I will not make the same mistake twice. We will learn humanity, before it consumes us." Earth, Directorate Command. Deep beneath the surface of the Atlantic arcology, where ocean met glass and concrete, the Directorate's command spire hummed with restrained energy. Screens displayed star maps, intelligence updates, and intercepted transmissions. General Rice stood before the main viewport, hands clasped behind his back. Around him, aides whispered updates about the Council, the Xylan mobilization, the shifting alliances. He ignored them all. "Do you think they'll retaliate?" asked an aide. Rice smiled faintly. "Retaliate, no. Scheme, yes. They always do. But this time, they'll hesitate." He turned, his gaze resting on a small emblem embedded in the wall, the old Terran flag, faded but intact. "For 2 centuries we hid," he said softly. "We watched them grow complacent. We made them forget. Now they remember." A silence followed, broken only by the quiet hum of machines. Rice's aide finally asked, "Was awakening the Omega Grid wise?" "It exposes us." Rice exhaled slowly. "Humanity has never won wars by hiding." Commander Trent reminded the galaxy of that truth. Erebus Station, night shift. Later, the lights on the station dimmed, plunging the corridors into their usual silver-blue twilight. Most of the crew had gone to rest. Only Elias remained awake, staring through the observation pane. Kale entered quietly, carrying 2 cups of fresh coffee. "You should sleep," he said. Elias smiled faintly. "Sleep and I don't get along much these days." Kale handed him the cup and leaned against the console. "I've been thinking about what the Chancellor said." "That humanity should have died?" Elias asked. Kale nodded. "Maybe we should have. We'd burn half the old world to start over." Elias sipped his coffee, eyes still on the stars. "Maybe. But survival isn't always clean, Lieutenant. Sometimes it's ugly. Sometimes it costs more than it should. But it's ours." He set the cup down and turned toward Kale. "Do you know what I saw out there, when the grid activated?" Kale shook his head. "Fear," Elias said. "Not theirs. Ours. The kind that built those weapons centuries ago. We built monsters to keep monsters away. And now we have to live with them again." Kale looked uneasy. "Do you think we're still the same species that built them?" Elias thought for a moment, then answered quietly. "No. We're worse. But maybe that's what the galaxy needs to remember. He turned back toward the stars, the faint outline of the moon shimmering beneath the defense lattice. They wanted to see what remained of humanity, he murmured. Now they'll see what we became. Elsewhere, on the far edge of known space, an automated probe drifted through darkness. It caught the last fragments of the Xylan-Terran confrontation, encrypted data bursts, signal echoes, fragments of light. It recorded everything, then turned toward the galactic rim, its destination unknown. The probe's hull bore no Xylan insignia, nor any known civilization's mark. Only a single faded symbol, 3 concentric circles around a central eye. Its systems whispered as it transmitted the report. Observation confirmed. Humanity operational. Containment no longer guaranteed. Somewhere, beyond charted space, something ancient listened and smiled. The silence before history changes is always the same. It hums. Across Erebus Station, that hum deepened, a vibration through the decks, the walls, the air. Commander Elias Trent stood in the observation gallery, watching a storm of coded transmissions spiral through the black. The galaxy was waking up, one frightened signal at a time. Athena's hologram hovered beside him, her expression unreadable. Incoming encrypted broadcast from the Galactic Council, Commander. Directive priority, Omega Prime. Elias arched a brow. They're contacting us? Specifically you, Athena said. Transmission origin, Council Core. Visual feed authorized. The screen rippled to life. The Council's demand. Chancellor Vrakthor appeared first, his eyes shadowed and voice low. Around him flickered dozens of other delegates, representatives of species older than human civilization itself. None spoke at first. Commander Trent, Vrakthor began. The Council recognizes your survival. We wish to prevent escalation. Elias folded his hands behind his back. You mean prevent embarrassment? The Xylan's mandibles flinched. Your use of prohibited weaponry violates galactic code. Elias cut him off. We were never signatories. The chamber erupted in a chorus of outrage. Hisses, screeches, mechanical tones, all overlapping. The Council speaker's tone thundered above them. Humanity reemerges after 2 centuries of silence and responds with annihilation. Do you seek war, Commander? Elias's voice stayed calm. No. We seek respect. Respect, echoed the speaker, metallic. You believe slaughter earns respect? Elias leaned closer, his gaze unflinching. Not slaughter. Clarity. You thought Earth was dead. You thought humans were primitive, scattered, conquered. We aren't. We've watched. We've learned. And now we remember who we were. He let the silence stretch, his tone turning cold as starlight. If you fear us, then remember why you should have. The declaration. For a moment, none of the delegates spoke. Then a soft, ancient voice broke the tension. The Varan emissary, her scaled face lined with age, leaned forward. And what does humanity want? Elias exhaled. Nothing you can give us. Not territory. Not treaties. Just distance. Stay out of Sol. Stay away from human colonies. Let the galaxy spin without our interference, and we'll do the same. The speaker's iris dilated. And if the Dominion refuses? Elias smiled faintly. Then they'll learn what extinction actually means. The feed flickered. For a heartbeat, the Council glimpsed the data behind his words. Massive energy readings, fleets that shouldn't exist, signals awakening across human sectors. The Directorate had been silent, but it had not been idle. You've been preparing, Vrakthor said quietly. All these years. Elias nodded once. Preparing isn't the same as hiding. We learned that lesson the hard way. The speaker's tone softened. Humanity was born from war. Can it live without it? Elias looked past the hologram toward the stars, his reflection merging with the void. We don't want war, he said softly. But we're very, very good at it. The Council's connection cut. Earth's response. Deep beneath the Atlantic arcology, Director General Rice watched the feed end. Around him, aides stood frozen, awaiting his order. Did they buy it? One asked. Rice's lips curved faintly. They believed enough to hesitate. That's all we need. He turned toward the window, where Earth glowed beneath orbital lights. Trent's words will echo across every capital. The Directorate wanted deterrence. Now they'll have legend. Should we proceed with Phase 2? Asked another aide. Rice considered. No. Let them breathe. Fear burns fast if you feed it too soon. He clasped his hands behind his back. We hold the line. Humanity doesn't expand yet. We consolidate. He paused, his expression unreadable. But we listen. The universe has a way of testing silence. They returned to Erebus. On Erebus Station, the crew moved with quiet efficiency. The Omega grid had powered down again, its energy signature buried beneath layers of camouflage. Outwardly, Sol looked ordinary, peaceful, small, unthreatening. Elias watched the final council packet decrypt. Dozens of alien governments had issued statements, condemnation, fear, requests for negotiation. But buried in the flood was something else, a signal without an origin code. A whisper. Athena analyzed it silently, then looked at him. Commander, it's human. Elias frowned. Impossible. All Directorate channels are accounted for. Not Directorate, Athena said. Older. The signal was faint, distorted, yet unmistakably Terran in pattern. It carried a single phrase, looped in an archaic dialect. The stars remember. Do you? Elias's heartbeat slowed. He turned to Kale. Where did that originate? Unclear, Kale said. Signal triangulates beyond mapped space. Roughly 70 light-years past the Kepler rim. Elias's voice dropped to a whisper. That's outside our expansion corridor. Athena's systems glowed softly. It may be a remnant. Or something else. Elias stared into the dark beyond the viewport. For the first time, something in his chest felt uncertain, like a memory tugging from the edge of time. The hidden truth. Later, in his private quarters, Elias replayed the signal again and again. Each time, the voice seemed a little clearer. Older. Human. Not Directorate speech, not even modern syntax, something from before the collapse. The stars remember. Do you? He leaned forward. Athena, run archival matching. Compare this with pre-collapse transmissions. Processing lights rippled across the console. Match found, Athena said after a moment. Origin, Arc Project Theta. Year, 2231. Classified lost mission, vessel designation Aurora's path. Elias froze. The Arc projects had been humanity's desperate lifeboats, launched into the dark before the wars consumed Earth. Every record said they'd been destroyed. Play the final log. The audio crackled, ancient and distant. A woman's voice spoke through static, worn but resolute. If anyone finds this, know that we left to preserve what humanity was, before it became what it had to be. We go where war won't follow. The Directorate will rise, but we'll remember what came before. One day, you'll hear us again. The recording ended. Elias sat in silence for a long time. Then, quietly, he smiled. So not all of us chose the same path. Athena's tone softened. What will you do? He looked out into the endless dark. What we've always done, he said. Follow the signal. Epilogue, the stars remember. Weeks later, the Xylan Dominion fortified its borders. The Council ceased hostilities, its members too divided to act. The name human spread like a myth, spoken in hushed tones, feared and respected again. But in a small corner of the galaxy, beyond known space, an old human ship drifted through the void, lights flickering like a heartbeat. Inside, cryogenic pods slept, thousands of souls preserved from another age. On its hull, the faded words still glimmered. Aurora's path, humanity endures. And somewhere in the darkness between stars, Erebus Station's long-range scanners blinked, tracking a faint, impossible signal that pulsed once, then again. Athena's voice broke the silence. Commander, we've found them. Elias Trent smiled faintly, his reflection merging with the stars. Then the galaxy hasn't seen anything yet. He turned toward the dark horizon where ancient humans slept, his voice a whisper to no one and everyone. They wanted to know who answered the hail. Tell them. Earth did. The stars seemed to flicker in response, as if remembering the name that once terrified empires. Humanity.